me. Um, but so my name is Christina. I am the executive director of the CSUEA, which is the CSU Entertainment Alliance. And I think you guys all are really familiar sort of what it is, but it is that joint endeavor between, I keep joking around now, it's like the 23 CSUs, but I feel like CSU Maritime got like, it got Plutoed. So now it's no longer a planet, it's a space rock, and it's got folded. um, you know, so we might be 22 and a half, who knows. But Maritime didn't have much to do with the entertainment industry anyway. Well, we will still send them love if they ever need us. But so I'm the executive of the CSUAA, which is sort of the mission of connecting our amazing CSU grads to the industry, and and all of that sort of, and our students to the industry, and the industry back to the CSU in all ways, forms, and functions. And so the idea is, how do we get our amazingly talented and diverse humans at the CSU, educated at the CSU, being educated by the CSU, out into productive pathways into the world. And then my own sort of background is, I've been at CSUN for about 4 years. I'm a professor in their entertainment media management program. Other than that, like, I'm an indie producer. I was one of the producers on a movie called Monica that IFC released last year, starred Tracy Lizette and Patty Clarkson. And then I also,
Christina, I'm going to ask you
yeah.
to pause just for a second. The young lady that's coming on is the person who has been most responsible for getting me
Woo!
5 California State University alumni to be my apprentices. And so she's
Amazing.
able to join us. So Anna Marie Pearson, she's an adjunct professor at Cal State Northridge right now.
She is. And to be
Hi.
honest, Anna Maria, it's amazing to, so this is the amazing thing about CSUN, is sometimes we're so decentralized.
I know.
I have
All the time.
seen, I've seen your name on, so, because I used to run the scholarship committee.
Ah,
You've been so active and supporting our students, like,
thank
through the scholarship
you.
process. And you're one of the only, I can tell from who refers people to what and who serves as their references. You're like
Mm.
you're my woman that stands up behind her students and refers,
Huh.
first of all,
Oh, well,
relays the information of scholarships, which is not department wide, but then also supports them. And
yeah,
so that's really meaningful to me, because you sort of do that pathway, which is exactly, that's, you're like, I'm always like, we're trying to give people money,
yeah,
money,
exactly.
support, connections, and that, so like, that's always my thing, right?
Yeah, no, that's wonderful. That's wonderful to hear. And I mean, I've gotten a lot of my students placed in internships, and not only at my alma mater, the public TV station, which was KCT, is now PBS SoCal, but also at different companies that I've worked with, some who are members of the TV Academy along with me. So, and
Yeah.
I'm always going, like tonight, I'm going to be going to another industry event. I kind of pilfer for guest speakers and internships.
I do the exact same thing. You're like, you're my human. That's what we do.
I
That,
love
like,
it.
we always ask everyone for, like, oh, like, when you come into my class, right? I'm always
Yeah.
like, and all that kind of thing. Um,
Yeah.
so
Actually, do you know Kirk Kirkton?
do I know who?
Kirk Kirkton. He's the Cal State Northridge.
I don't. I've only been at Northridge for 3 to 4 years, or like 4 years. This is my 4th year right now. So Anne Marie has been there much longer than I have.
A decade. It's amazing.
He was trying to recruit me from out there, not artists in residence, but for my archive at the time.
Right. But D, let's let Christina finish off her introduction, because your introduction takes a
Because I
little
want to,
longer. Because I mean
yeah,
this.
I want to hear all of your guys is like what you do and things like that. Because part of my mission right now is like, how can we make the CSU make the CSU EA more meaningful in your lives and in what you're doing. And Anne Maria, sort of all that idea of like how you've been curating internships. We want to make sure that our beautiful humans, our beautiful humans at CSUN and also around the CSU, are finding those pathways, finding those pipelines, and all of
Sure.
that kind of thing, right? So yeah, so I've been at Northridge 3 to 4 years kind of thing, or I say 3 to 4 because I'm in my 4th year there. And I teach entertainment management. Outside, I'm an independent producer. a lot of my stuff has been, I was with Lionsgate. I ran the development for Code Black at Lionsgate for about 5 years, which is Jeff Flanagan's
Jeff
company.
Flanagan, yeah, good friend. From the
Everyone
Bay
knows
Area.
Jeff. I love Jeff, right? And my producing partner right now is Sanaa Lathan, and she's been my best friend and or one of my besties, and we've been always trying to elevate the content that she gets and developing it for the last, oh God, since we graduated from graduate school together. She was my,
Oh,
all that kind of thing. And so
where did you go to graduate school?
we both went to Yale.
Ah,
I went to UC San Diego as an undergrad, and then I went to Yale for graduate school.
great. That's good.
And I was the only person from a public school in graduate school. Or Sanaa and I were. She went to Berkeley, and then we both went. We were of the same group and sort of, in grad school and things like that. And so, it's, oh God, it was like crashing the doors. But from the public school kids. But it was sort of interesting thing. So anyway, all throughout my career, I was a development and production executive across various sort of studios, independently, things like that. And the work I do with Sanaa right now is like sort of my heart stuff, because we have a lot of projects in conjunction with one another we have a partnership in a production company and things like that. So that's my outside creative work. And then what I do, and then CSUEA is deeply meaningful to me, because like my entire life has been about how do we actually create diversity in the industry. And when I started, I was the only woman in the areas that I was walking in, and I was like, where are our female writers, directors, all of that? What are the barriers of entry? Why are we not finding this? And then as it grew, it became like, and looking at the work that Sanaa was doing and things like that, she's fundamental to my journey, was this idea of like, why are you not getting better scripts? Why are you not getting the work that we should be doing? And then when we do a project together, or when I've consulted on projects with her, it's like, why is the executive structure not diverse? Why is who's behind the camera not diverse? Right. So that's always been part of the thing. So those have always been my allies, the Effie Browns of the world, just finding the people, that Ava DuVernays, that are like pushing that mission forward. Mm-hmm. So, my background has been a lot in Black and what we would call, that I don't like the nomenclature, but urban entertainment. Mm-hmm. And diversification to women, non-binary humans, and things like that. Mm-hmm. But that's not who I am as a human, right? And so the CSUEA as a mission is deeply important to me, because I see my beautiful humans that I educate every day, and to make sure that we stand up with every other film school in the United States in terms of the pipelines, the access, and the understanding of that when we curate diversity in every single space, it's meaningful. Right. So for the CSUEA, one of my missions right now, because I'm just we just transferring it down to CSUN, and we have so many growing pains.
Well, are you there on the campus?
I am. I was there this morning. Right now, I came back to my messy house because, to be honest, the air conditioning in my office is not great, and it's 120 degrees at Northridge.
Right.
Oh, I know. It's
yeah. I was
okay, my beautiful humans. That was my diatribe for like 10 minutes. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's great. I don't even know where we start next. Let's go with Anna Marie.
Okay, so I've been at CSUN for 10 years. I also teach at the University of Nebraska. I've taught at a few other places. Right now I'm not teaching in UNL, but I've had a couple of different courses there. And my course has been a mixture of new directions in digital media. Electronic media is actually the way it's still called in the catalog after 10 years.
Oh my God, I hate that, by the way. Part of my mission is how can we actually bring the language to at least the year 2000.
There used to be the excuse of how long it took for it to go to the printer and the catalogs get printed, but we don't have that anymore. It's just a couple of pixels. Although lately I've been reading this book, The Invisible Rainbow by Arthur Furstenberg, spelled just like Jean. And it's about electricity and how humans were changed literally, biologically, as well as our lives and our work and everything that we do now, from computing to AI, is because of electricity. So I'm having my students read some of that. I'm throwing that at them on top of all the other things. So that's my main course is that, and all other things hinge on that. But I've also taught story labs that were multi-platform creative writing, development, narrative storytelling, flat out screenwriting. Although in that class, I also required my students to do one script using AI. So I'd like them to play around with the new media and use that for their projects. Students, I had one group when we were in the Zoom in the pandemic hell that did their project on augmented reality, and they literally used the screen of Zoom to throw up QR codes so everybody in their different rooms, bedrooms, dorm rooms, kitchens, Starbucks, could call up augmented reality animations. So I really push them to, it's not just a lecture class, it's really a hybrid. It's cataloged as a lecture class, but there's some heavy semester-long production that goes on.
I love
So
that.
they have to pitch me their ideas that get greenlit, and then they work on them all semester long in groups. So that's it. I came out of a production background as well, independent film and video, on admin. I used to run Image Film and Video Center in Atlanta, plus a little one in Hartford, Connecticut, and I came out here to help set up local access and public access in cable television. I was flown out to start up these. It was with Falcon Cable, which was the largest MSO in California at the time. And then I went on from that. I worked for Movie Time, which became E Entertainment, and then I worked for ABC Network. So I've done a lot of different things, and I enjoy teaching now. That's where all of the
To be
things I did that
honest,
combined.
one of the things I'm just going to jump into your introduction is I will say that you are uniquely beloved by your students.
Oh, really? That's,
You are.
well, I love them too. So we
You
got
are.
that mutual thing
Like
going.
there are a few instructors because I can track it through like the various like we see the reviews and things like that. But you are bar none loved.
Oh, good. Well, I hope that carries through to my chair. Other
If
people
I
that,
see it, he sees it. So we know, or
yeah.
he,
I
all
have
that.
a much smaller class. They've been giving me less classes. I used to have 3 sections of this, and I don't know what's happening because even Todd Holmes has told me the new direction of digital media is vital to me for the entertainment media management. But they've been doing something with, you know, rejiggering the program that I think really separating emerging media from these others, making sure emerging media students all get in my class
Sure.
before any others, to the detriment now of both the class itself and the number of students. So I don't know what that is, but it's certainly important for media management students to understand AR, VR, XR, whatever, AI, robotics, CGI. I've had students do things on the CGI, specifically on CGI aging process. So whatever they do it on, it could be on robotics, it could be on autonomous cars. They have to bring it back into what and why it's important to media, arts, entertainment. I don't
Right.
want them to write about and study gadgets for the sake of gadgets and
Right.
geek them. So they say that. I was with AFI for 10 years. I've done a lot. So cable television, network television, public television, and the American Film Institute for a long, it's amazing what a calling card that is, even after so many years. And Jean Furstenberg remains a good friend of mine. So
she's one of my heroes. And then all that kind of thing. I can go on about Jean. Jean is amazing.
directing workshop for women. I mean, I met her in 1980 in Boulder at a
Wow.
Alliance of Media, National Alliance of Media Arts Centers, and we've been friendly ever since.
I love that. I love
Right.
that.
Well, and she's just being very demure. Anna Marie is so much more than what you said. I'm going to set up everybody from this point on.
Good. Do it.
But so Anna Marie has really been a dear friend, but also for my nonprofit organization, who's really been focused on the last mile of employment for
Yeah.
all of these students. She's really helped me source out some of the best and brightest graduates from Cal State Northridge to be part of my apprenticeship program.
Okay.
And so the next person I'm going to toss it to, and I don't know if you're very familiar with the term apprenticeship or the technical term of apprenticeship for the state of California, but this is the person who really helped me adopt the best practices, the science of it. That's now become an art form for me to really get students acclimated to the last mile of employment and getting placed in the entertainment industry and the creative tech entertainment industry. And I want to introduce you to her. Her name is Renee Brown. And Renee, I don't know if
She's on camera now. Oh my God.
I don't
Okay.
know if she wants to talk a lot, but she can just tell you a little bit about her, and then I'll take it back as to what I do with the apprenticeship program that
Right
I
on.
have.
See, this is not my there I am. Okay.
Oh,
This is not my sector. I'm a business, what is it? I'm the business sector lead. So I'm kind of being, naughty, so to speak, with this, but Kevin is a unique individual and a bright light, and we connected, and then he has made me better, looking at things differently, and we've lifted each other up through fabulous times. And even just, it's like, I don't know what to do with this. Do you know what to do with this? And between the two of us, we found the common language to speak. And one of the ways that we were looking at is, okay, let's really break this down. If you're looking at opportunity youth, if you're looking at youth that are coming from difficult circumstances, how do we do this? And why is it such a problem in apprenticeship? Part of the problem with it is, do they even know how to be an apprentice? Who have they been, do they have um, people within their home, within their community, at school?
This is a really big thing for us, is that the demonstration pathway, right? In terms of like that idea of like, do you know how to respond in a workplace? Do you know how to behave? And I don't mean that in a belittling way. I'm just like, literally, I have a 21-year-old son, and I can also look at this in terms of academic pathways. He's had a mom that has worked in the industry that teaches, and he has the demonstration of pathway. Other students do not. And that's really meaningful to me in terms of how do we rectify that gap, right? And so
and it's understanding it. And it literally is sitting there, and many people don't realize how privileged they are. Just even, and I have probably, I think I've spent 40 years dealing with special ed and the rest of it between my daughter and my son. And even to like go to Starbucks, you talk and you think of this, it's like, oh, it's a big deal. It's Starbucks. It's pumpkin latte time. What if you come from a house where you don't have money for that? And that's, not part, and just being able to work through shame and blame. I mean, I ended up going back to school in my 40s. And my husband was exiting the workforce due to health. And I had my high school diploma and health insurance for the family. And it's like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I went to school, and I love school. And I took it to the master's and the postgraduate degree. And I did it at Dominguez in negotiation, conflict resolution, and peace building. Because you know what? That was everywhere in life. I mean, I could use it. There's no set job for it. But the application is just winds through so many things. And but it has helped me with, when you're looking at it, how do we break it down? How do we deconstruct it? How do we construct it? Flipping our language, changing it from, the opportunity, the disadvantage, this, that. You're looking at, oh gosh, I'm using my word right, the inverse model, the body, where the curve goes down. It's like, let's talk about it from a lens of lift. Right, what are the areas where you have, strengths, and then where do you need to be lifted?
Right.
Instead of talking about using a language of deficits.
Right. Rather than using a language of stretch.
Yes.
Right. Exactly. Things like that. Right. And so, Renee, you said something small early on, which actually, I always think about also diversity in terms of non-neurotypical. It's a really big thing for me. My son's autistic. He had the benefit of a lot of interventions, which we also know that is principle in my own world and my own universe, is that always I will say that diagnosis is an act of privilege. because that's the first act
Yes.
of being able to get interventions, is the sense of whether you know whether you hold a sense of label or diagnosis or not. That's a very personal choice for kids, for families, things like that. But the idea of non-neurotypicality and things like that, and undiagnosed non-neurotypical is actually a really interesting thing. And I'm lucky, my son had a horrible time getting access to higher education because no one thought he could do it. He's in an engineering program at Colorado State. He's the different CSU, but they have Temple Grandin on their staff, like as a professor. So they understand from the ground up. But so all I say in terms of everything that you're talking about, the idea of like, so not using the language of deficit is a huge thing for me, because I think about that in terms of how I raised my own child as a single mom, you know, taking an autistic child around the world, and he came with me on set, you know, everywhere that I went. That also became, that's the reason, that's my that's also my talk when I talk about why I turned to education, is because I could not have this child that needed extra care, extra needs. And I still had to support my family because I would, you know, I was a single mom at that point and things like that. And so all of those structures, and then I can look at this beautiful, bright, brilliant child, and I can look at my students at CSU as my beautiful, bright, brilliant children. And some of them have different pathways to access. They have different strengths. They have different gifts. And so like the non-neurotypical, I look at them and I'm like, you've got a freaking superpower. We just have to figure out how to harness it. And then there's that's also my belief on all forms of how we come through where we get the power. And so exactly what you're saying is that we don't work out of a process of deficit. We work out of that sense of how do we lift people up.
And you need to, there is an art to crafting a question, and you need to get really clarification. And there's a whole skill set that's associated with having success within those communities. And I mean, my daughter is really our granddaughter. We adopted her. So we picked up a 2-week-old baby with autism and genetic issues. So she is her bright, blonde, bouncy self, but she presents well. And so then the argument, I shouldn't say, well, yes, it is an argument with LA Unified, but go through I'll go through due process every year. How can I do that? Because I was connected with a nonprofit for special ed. And if I was looking at my own resources, I know that the power imbalance I would lose. And it's not about me. My child would lose those opportunities. And so it's, while there may not be cost for us as a family, it's like in that negotiation, anything that comes out of it, if it's beyond my daughter, put it in the foundation, help somebody else. Help someone else succeed. I know, CSUN, you're a big powerhouse with the neurodivergent. And yes, you're right. They're finding that within employment, it's where are those places and spaces that you can just, if you connect them in the right place, they're rock stars.
Exactly.
But it's finding out what it is. And actually, you know what? That is how I met Kevin, because he had a different representative for his sector, and he was passed over to me just because of my knowledge of navigating the disabled community, because he had an individual with that challenge, and we started from there. But I'm also going to say too, it's when I walk into these schools, and when you look at kids who don't get services, they are predominantly Black and brown.
Exactly.
Because there is no expectation, or they're just lazy, they're this, they're that. And it's like, no, but who is their crusader? Who is that person? Who's their advocate? And even beyond that, how are you educating the community to have a higher expectation? And Kevin, you told me I was going to be, I was in this meeting, and then you wanted me to show my face.
Right. I wanted her to listen, because this was my opportunity to not have to repeat a lot of the great things that I knew was going to happen in this meeting, because all of us are really connected through service. And, Renee, again, being a representative from the Division of Apprenticeship Standards from the state of California. So that's really where she's at. She's taking a lot of her marching orders from Sacramento. And I got into this apprenticeship programming because service for me was not being met with the kind of outcomes that I've been doing as a nonprofit for almost 33 years. I
Wow.
started in the Bay Area in Oakland, California,
Yeah.
but I wasn't able to see the kind of outcomes because I wasn't plugged into government, into state, federal, county, and city. So I
Right.
started to get more active in understanding about governance and where were the resources, not just money. And so the Vision Apprenticeship Standards were Renee is a very little known, just nuclear power plant for people to tap into who are really not sure about how we're going to get this next generation people in the workforce, into economic opportunities.
I think one of the operative words, and I'm always making this distinction to my students, and what I like is that Kevin has put forth the idea of apprenticeship.
Yep.
Most of the academic world, they understand internships.
Yep.
You're going to be an intern, and obviously there's one thing for a medical intern in a hospital, but a lot of internships are not that practical. They're not necessarily that hands-on. They don't necessarily have somebody job shadowing or following or training us on a specific tool. And apprenticeships really mean you're learning into
Right.
a specific job. So I think that distinction has to really be put out there and delineated. And companies that are bringing them on need to understand that. This is not internships where you could spend an entire semester. The old days it used to be at the copy machine, but the equivalent of that, printing things out or running for coffee, even worse. That was on sets. You must know that from the industry. As you go and run for coffee, you're not learning. You're not getting behind a camera. You're not making storyboards. You're not doing these things that you really need to learn.
Right.
So
Well, and it's really key for me. I'm still learning, but I can write a book about what apprenticeship isn't and what it could be for each individual person who takes it on and for each person who becomes an apprentice. I think the idea, the two most powerful words are commitment. There has to be a commitment from both sides to invest in each other. And I'm finding that a lot of people who are Gen Z, they're looking for quick fix opportunities like right now. Where is the immediate benefit for me to exchange, all of my treasure into something? And once you graduate, you're really expecting it right now. You're expecting somebody to hire you for your dreams, for your work. And no one's ever told them that they have to learn how to really succeed their dreams for someone else's dreams. A boss, a person who's going to give them a chance to earn the opportunity to be trusted, that they can show up every second about someone else's ego, someone else's thing. And so that's what I've been really trying to figure out, is how to teach these mentees, these apprentices, about what it takes to commit to something that doesn't even have an end state. It could be for a couple of months, could be for a whole year, which is really what the commitment is. But
Dee was going to try to say something, and
I know I want to hear Dee's background.
Sure, go ahead, Dee. D, well, yeah. Let me set D up, because D is probably.
I have somebody as an apprentice what's it?
D, we can barely hear you. I don't know what's going on with your audio.
Better.
Speak up. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, your audio is not that great. Okay, not okay. Well, let me set D up, because one of the things that happened. Dee and I have known each other for almost 20 years now. We went to the Cannes Film Festival together. He's an auteur. He's a person who's really spanned all these different areas of medium that are attractive now to these young people. But to bring it full, to today, we have one of the people that Anna Marie introduced to me, who's been one of my longest. He was my first apprentice. And he happened to be the young man that Renee was talking about had a learning disability.
Mm.
But he doesn't know he has a learning disability because he's never been tested.
Right.
And his parents have never suggested that he be tested or don't suggest that he has any learning disability, but he does. And so I've decided through this 2 years of working with him, I'm going to employ him if nobody else does. He's now working on a project that we shot maybe 2 weeks ago, which is an interview to talk, just really chronicle the life of this man, and not just the life, but just really what he's planning on doing in this next foray of entertainment and cinematography. But he's a photographer, videographer, an artist, and now a cinematographer that is going to help me place at least one of our people potentially with him as an apprentice. So I think he's giving us an opportunity to find someone who is uniquely skilled to not just look over his shoulder, but to really be of value to him and all the things he's doing. He's all over the world. And so with that, he's the kind of person that I would like to say could be a case study of how he could become an artist in residence, potentially, and talking about all the different things he can do to talk about the expanse of opportunities in the entertainment industry, past, present, and future. So I've set him up a little bit. But Dee, if you can't explain about, what you're doing and where you came from.
Well, I was going to say, I have actually a person named Bay who's interviewing. I'm interviewing for my next film, but I worked a lot in the industry. I've done over 60 movies and maybe 100 posters. And recently, the Academy has archived over 30,000 of my images and have an exhibit at the Academy Museum of Boys in the Hood. So I come back and I have over close to 1 million pictures to hang at like SIPA in Paris, in Cambodia, Lebanon, all the things. I lived in London for about 7 years. After that, I worked at Newsweek, so I covered Prince Charles, Belfast, the IRA, Provost and officials, and I visited, met with Idi Amin. And when I first time on a set I had to go over to South Africa to photograph Adam for his film on Beagle. And I was introduced to a young man who described me as a television star, who turned out to be Denzel Washington. Wow. And so I eventually worked with Denzel on Devil in a Blue Dress. But I've done, Loving Basketball, the stuff I did with Chad on movie 42, where he played Jackie Robinson, or the one he did with...
That was Angelo Pizzo's movie, wasn't it? 42?
42 is about...
No, I know, but the guy who wrote it, Angelo Pizzo, I think. But
I don't know the name, but it was done by Legendary. And we shot mostly in Atlanta and a few other states. We shot in Mississippi, the whole movie before I Get On Up, which was like Mick Jagger produced. Yeah. And Chad was just phenomenal. But on 42, we used interns, we used apprentices. And one day, they were assigned to different departments. My department was still photography. And so I'm using someone that's coming to my department, very short, very small. I call it a little bit, she's so small. And I have her carrying grip equipment around, and here is some cord just went down my face. What is she doing carrying all that? Man, how can you take that? I said, listen, I did that. What about me? My back hurts too. But anyway, she went, she came out here, did some internship, and now moving up the ladder big time. And they all came from Ray Rachel's, Ray Rachel Robinson, who has an incredible foundation in New York. Yeah. And I actually went to, I photographed Rachel with the Dodgers we had down in the South, and then flew up to New York to give her 98th birthday present, which had her in the center of all these Dodgers. And she just loved it. Jesse Jackson was there, everybody, and I took Hank Aaron up. This is all, away from set. This is on the weekend. So Chad and I went up to go to the Baseball Hall of Fame and brought Hank Aaron with us. And we brought David Robinson, Jackie's son. So I photographed them, but I've done my early movies on set as a union photographer with Boys in the Hood. That's what's on exhibit right now. You have to walk through, of course, Coppola, Casablanca, and then you get to my little set on the second floor, pre-advertising. But working with people, I have somebody here I'm getting ready to do a movie Pet 2, which I made 20 years ago. So we take it back and upgrade it and do some things. We want to open it in Cannes, 20th anniversary when we opened it first time. So I like working with young people now because I'm getting older. They energize me. They bring in the new technology, AI, all of the bells and whistles. You know, I always fall back onto someone like let's say even the what's the classical movie, oh, the Swedish director, Burton. You know, something simple, something, you know, just beautifully well done. I worked with John Sayles on a number of movies, and I love the way he works a lot. We did a movie in Georgia, I think Angela, actually to a slave plantation, Angela Bassett. And, you know, we actually picked cotton, and we got the ends of what cotton bleeds, makes your hand bleeds, and what doesn't. I mean, there's a lot of things that young people are getting into, and I think that's the ideal right now. So, so that's part of my career. My career was like, I would say, in a encapsulating it is like after UCLA, then moved to London. But I did a lot of stuff at KPFK. I won a number of awards about breaking the Soledad story. I illustrated books for like Life in Prison with Tookie Williams. I did a movie, number of like prison songs with Elvis Costello and Mary J. Blige.
Absolutely.
And so I've been doing, I like to keep my hands full with journalism and combine it with, I did Truman, HBO ended up buying to publish a book. They ended up buying the pictures I took on the set for to make another book out of Truman. So I've done about maybe 10, 12 books for historically accurate documentary.
Wow.
Documents. But so that's it, basically. I've known Kevin for a decade, not longer. And, you know, I always like the brother trying to help people and then have an affinity toward like Compton, per se. That's where I grew up at. And I said, hey, anything that boy is great with, you know, because I know the feeling, I know the timing and everything. I mean, Northern Ireland was my cup of tea because they aligned with me there, not the reporter, and said, hey, we can talk to you. You have a lot of similarities together. And that kind of feeling as a journalist, you know, they interviewed by John Barnes, who was the correspondent. He said, what did they say? What did this? And same thing in Uganda, the same thing in Rwanda. All these places I used to travel to freely. There is that stuff that other people can bring to the table that heretofore isn't available. And partially is that because I think it gets taken out of them when they go to school, when they get educated. I mean, I remember I'd be afraid to go apply for a job because my diversity is so wide. That's why actually, if you know Kirk was trying to get me to come to Cal State Northridge years ago, and went through 4 or 5 meetings with his staff up there, and he just wanted my basic archive, and he knew it turned me on. He said, "Your office will be next to the wet dark room." I said, "Oh my God, smell the perfume." And but eventually, the Academy wanted 30,000 images for largely film, and I said, "We can't go to journalism," and they did. So I'm going to have exhibit. I opened the museum up with images from key art images for Love and Basketball.
Wow.
But
My girl's movie. Yay.
You know, I do like the poster. That's what I care about. No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. He won the Hollywood Reporter Key Art
Award.
Key Art Award for that poster. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. And Dee, let me tell you the reason why I brought Dee on the call because he's got so many different you know, opportunities for young people to learn from. Yeah. But one of the things that we're currently doing right now is we're working with some of the top camera manufacturers, Nikon in particular, who just bought Red. And Red has been very generous in giving us some cameras to use.
Amazing.
And so we're literally looking at trying to figure out how to become a focus group for Nikon and Red. Right. And the equipment that we're using, we plan on making sure that all of our attempts to get the kids' hands on the tech focus on stories like Dee. So we're working on a documentary right now. We haven't finished it yet. Damone just finished his part of it. We'll get the next part of it done pretty quickly. We want to send it to you as an example of what we're doing for Red and Nikon. And
I did make one point, Kevin. Last week, you know, the production assistants, the PAs, have decided to unionize, and that's the last people on the list. You know, after the actors, after the DGA, and IA, my unions. We got pretty much somewhat what we got, but now I love it. Now the PA say, hey, we work the 16 hours a day too.
Yep.
Time, and you don't have people who can, totally bottom, going to the coffee and going to this. Everybody on set, especially, it's pared down 90 to 150 people on the set. Now you get down to 60, 50. I do my movies with 8 or 9 people. But really, you don't have that luxury anymore of having a PA. Just all they do is do nothing. I don't learn. But I'm glad they're getting paid. This is the big thing because they work as hard as we do.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right. And so Christina, with that in mind, so the people that we're working with, I don't know if you are familiar with this earn to learn model.
Or yes, of course. Yeah.
Right. So one of the things that we want to break from is again, people doing internships or any experience where they're not getting a chance to learn the world of work.
Right.
They're not getting not only paid, but they're not being able to have the expectations put on them to understand how to get into a career or how to just be, again, a person who's perfect in their gig work.
I sort of have to leave because
okay. Yeah, and I think you've done a great job of at least giving a face, D, because I want her to know.
By the way, I love your dog. He makes this great mannerism. It's just like, and his face is spectacular.
She's a beautiful girl. Her name, yeah, she just heard it.
Oh, I just saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, she's a pit boxer, and so she's like a huge, massive pit mastiff.
Okay, sorry, back there.
And she controls her ears like almost like a composer. I noticed that they almost go to beat different size and everything. It's really, yeah, there you go.
And now she's listened to us talk about. She's watching her cats, things like that. She's like, she's got a little herd. She's my girl.
What's her name?
Stella.
Okay, Stella.
Yeah. Yeah, she's like, there are more interesting things going on.
Do you do a Brando imitation when you're calling her?
You know what? To be honest, yes, exactly. It'll be like, only a couple of times in the middle of the night do I do that. But, in terms of like if she goes out into the backyard, I'm like, oh my God, get back here. But yeah.
You can all go to my website, dstevens.com. You can go to the gallery page and have fun. I want to get this interview over. So thank you very much. And
thank you. It's so nice to meet you and hear about your history. That's amazing.
Very nice to meet you.
Thank you, Dee.
Bye-bye.
So I think I'm going with the last few minutes we have. So Dee again is probably one of the top mentors that I've kind of cataloged as people that we want to turn into potential employers for people. And so the last mile is what we're really focusing on. So my biggest ask for anybody at this point is to let this process of getting people who are really interested in finding talent to be able to give these talented people that we can put into a blender, if you will, and put them in a position where they can actually hear from the employers what those unique skill sets and mindsets are for those individuals so that we can start to do some matchmaking.
Right.
One of the things that we have to do is we have to get them prepared to meet these employers.
Yep.
And as part of my job, I'm actually an elected official with something called the California Jobs First. It's an initiative of the Governor's Office of Planning and Research.
Okay.
And we're funded for the next 3 years to try and create ways to put people from disinvested communities, folks who are primarily from the socially, well, I would say at this point, disinvested communities is not just people with invisible disabilities, unhoused people, or immigrants, but it's people who are kind of out of the margin of looking at them as talent. And so these people are the folks that we're really focused on giving them and their organizations, giving them the equipment and the infrastructure so that they can meet these potential opportunities where these employers are saying, all right, well, if you have these people, these talents, let's see them. So Ted Milner, I don't know if Ted can join us, but he's the person who is my agent to help people prepare for these interviews and for these opportunities. Ted, if you can't let us see your face, can you tell us a little? Can you tell
No.
Christina a little bit about yourself and what you
Hi,
do?
Christina.
Be
Yeah,
careful
I'm
when
here.
you're driving.
Well, I'm stopping as we speak.
Okay.
So I'm Ted Milner. My wife and I run an entertainment employment agency called Executive Temps. We've been doing that for about 36 years now.
Wow.
And we have placed thousands within the entertainment industry, from Paramount to Warner Brothers to Disney to CW to um, smaller companies like Jesse Collins Entertainment, ABC, etc. At one time, we serviced, I think we still do, majority of the major studios in any other agency.
Wow.
I've probably interviewed over 10,000 people, and hundreds that are now executives as an avenue of being employed through us. So I would say in the last 10 years, I've done more coaching on how to interview than I have in the 36 years combined. Just teaching the next generation what employers are looking for and the type of conversation you actually need to have with them. And so I call them the entitled generation. And so the biggest challenge I have, and I think I haven't mastered it, but I'm pretty good at it, is being able to give them a reality check on how the industry works without crushing their spirit. And so
Delicate
I do a
balance,
lot.
my friend.
What's that?
That's a delicate balance.
It is.
Very
So
much.
I do a lot of listening to accomplish that. And then I'm usually sharing a life experience that relates to that and encouraging them that this industry is not difficult. It's just demanding. And it's all about their expectations. So I try to give them a round, welded view on why employers are even interviewing you in the first place, why you have the privilege and the opportunity to sit before someone that potentially can hire you. And so I'm always educating that it's not about you. It's all about their need. Yep. And they're really not that interested in your long-term goals. So you want to talk more about their need than you want to spend on your aspirations and your dreams. And I would say from that coaching, I've had so many people tell me, oh, I see what I've done wrong. And then only to interview later down the road and land the job or land several opportunities. Mm-hmm. So in a nutshell, that's pretty much the bulk of what, outside of running the agency and placing other people, of what we do. We have a program called EICOP, Entertainment Industry College Outreach Program. Okay. And what we do is we partnered with this initiative, and we bring 105 students here to LA for summer internships, and all their housing is paid for, and all their internships are paid. We had 25 in New York, and then we had 6 in Atlanta. Next year, we'll be adding Tennessee. Amazing. So I'm dealing with a lot of youth, and 90% of those seniors have who were looking to work in entertainment are converting full time.
Right.
Usually those students are sophomores, juniors, and seniors.
Yeah.
And so we have a Thursday night speaker series. We pour a lot into them on educating them really of the culture. We bring a lot of heavy hitters in to talk about this industry, how it works, and how they can work with it.
Is that speaker series available to everyone, or do you have to have some sort of subscription or anything like that? What's the concept?
It's available to our students.
Okay.
If they're in the internship.
Not internship.
If you personally wanted to, go ahead, Kevin.
I was going to say, I don't know if did you hear that, again, they're specifically serving HBCU students?
I did not. Okay, so we're an HSI, but we also, it's a, but we don't think we have any CSUs or HBCUs, or we don't have any CSUs or
right.
HBCUs.
Right.
But,
so that's
model. Yeah.
I didn't think she heard
so
that.
We have 32 HBCUs represented this year, and 35 entertainment partners.
Amazing.
I mean, if you specifically wanted to attend, your Cal State Northridge.
Yeah.
Or you had a particular student or students you wanted to attend. Yeah. If the number's not extremely high, I can accommodate you.
Oh, amazing. Thank you. Yeah.
So
especially for some of our African-American students, because there's not as much of there's a strong Latino community at Northridge, but not as much African-American students. So that's actually really meaningful, because that would actually be a good relationship building event. You know, that's important. Okay. I might reach out to you for that.
Okay. Okay.
CSUN is, I believe, the most diverse school out of all in the system.
Well, to be honest, CSU, in terms of the statistics, CSU as an entire overview system is the most diverse public college system in the United States. I haven't been able to say in the world that, but in the United States, in terms of the racial diversity, the socioeconomic diversity, and also the non-neurotypical diversity across the CSU.
Incredible.
And
I'm going to have to jump off.
Okay. I'm sorry, Anna Marie. Yes, and I know that we've gone way over time. I didn't know we had a whole hour. But Christina, for Ted's sake, he doesn't know anything about you. And I wasn't, he's like, I said, hey, get on this call, please. So can you tell him a little bit about your mission, your charge? So thank you, Anna Marie. Can you tell him a little bit about your vision for success in your new role?
Yeah. Ted, I am the executive director of what's called the CSUEA. Up until the last couple of months, it's been rooted at San Francisco State, but it is now re-rooting down in at CSUN, CSU Northridge. And the CSUEA seeks to do is tie the students and the graduates of the most highly diverse college education system in the United States to the industry, the entertainment industry, with a very broad view, not just film or television, but also gaming, esports, AR, VR, sort of emerging technologies, things like that. So our students and our alumni to the entertainment industry, and then also the entertainment industry back to the CSU. And so creating a pipeline and not just a pipeline of, opportunities, jobs, things like that, but very strongly a informational pipeline. So this idea of like everything you're talking about, that idea of, for all of you guys, start talking about this idea of how do we present ourselves? How do they present, how our students present ourselves? I keep calling them my pandemic babies.
Yeah.
They are
humans again, and so, so we try to host events at CSUN, for our CSUN students to try to like get them used to talking to career, to
professionals
like that. Exactly. And so I've been teaching at CSUN this is my 4th year there. I've taught a number of other film schools around, around LA and things like that. But I'm also a development and production executive in the industry and an independent producer and studio consultant. So, and I still maintain that work. And a lot of my life's mission in my own personal work has been about the idea of diversity and how do we reorient our industry from essentially the default of white male to the sort of the much larger pot that we have of talent, resources, and ideas around us, especially given the state of California. So this is all sort of part and process of or the CSUEA becomes part and process of sort of everything that I've done in my life. And it's something that I'm deeply committed to. And so the things that the CSUEA does is we provide, and I'm interested in terms of like, we used to do a program where we would sponsor interns from around the CSU, Chico, San Bernardino, all that kind of thing, to have housing in LA for summer internships, because that's a major marker of equity.
Right.
All CSUs are broke right now. So, a lot of what I do is I go out and meet with some of our corporate donors and ask if I can, I'm an independent producer. So what I basically do as a living is try to leverage money away from people. So I'm trying to do that on behalf of the CSU Entertainment Alliance as well, in terms of like, can I find more support for our students? And in terms of internships, taking away those barriers of entry, like, where do I live? Things like that, all that kind of thing. And can that be taken care of if I'm doing a low cost internship? And I had, because a lot of our students are in very different life situations.
Right.
And taking an unpaid internship is impossible. But taking one for very little pay and no housing and having to come down to LA for the summer is also impossible. So being mindful of those pathways of equity and sort of that, and shoring it up so that we are, essentially making sure that there's a pipeline of really good, diverse talent into all fields of industry. So that's a lot of what I do. And, I have the great blessing to work in the same department that Anna Marie does, although we've never met before this Zoom, but I've seen her name on everything. So,
well, I am on campus Tuesday and Thursday mornings. Okay. So if you're ever around on those days, we can meet up for coffee or something
I would
after.
love that. Yeah, absolutely. And I'll reach out through our Sir CSUN and stuff and all that. But that's what I am. That's how what I do. And I have to jump off in about 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Right. And I just wanted to wrap this by saying that I haven't really pitched you anything. I wanted to listen more about who, what, where, where, and how we could potentially help you, because that's the spirit in which I serve on the CSUEA Advisory Council. And I've heard a lot of things over the last maybe 10 years. There was other administration and other people who got me involved. But I want to be more activist in making sure that we bring government resources, federal. I also represent the Department of Labor Employment Training Administration.
By the way, more of us from the CSUEA and the Advisory Council, all of that needs to get on the mayor's board of entertainment. She has her board that she's conducting, or she's doing for how we keep production in LA, but then also the resources and things like that. It's like somebody needs to we have Ricardo from the Handy Foundation on the governor's board right now, or on the mayor's board right now, but we need to get somebody else there.
Oh, we've got some great candidates, but again, part 2 is what we can do to find out how we can plug some very specific prioritized needs of getting people prepared for opportunities either after they graduate this fall semester or spring semester. And we're looking right now for talent. I have a budget right now where I can actually put some people to work, and that's what Anna Marie's helping me do. So I have a budget right now.
So we should do a follow-up conversation phone call. And Kevin, this is also sort of what my immediate goals for the CSUEA is. I want to actually meet like literally every single person on the advisory council to ask, and we're going to do a little spiel in our Zoom meeting, which is get involved. And so some people, I'm like, it's sweat equity. What can we do with you? What can you do for us? What can we learn from you? Things like that. Or my friends that are at the bigger corporations and things like that, it'll be like, how can you help fund the work? All of that kind of thing. Because it's like, again, I'm going to start asking our advisory council members that are at like Disney and things like that. I was like, why have we not gotten any grants from you guys? And how can you connect us to the money over there? Because there is money.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Well, so part two, let's talk about this term braiding funding, because that's what I would like to do, is to try to figure out how to leverage some of the money that we have available. So let's make sure that we talk about funding and braiding it.
Let's do it. And then I'll invite a couple of members from my team. I'll invite Alma. I think you must know Alma Lopez, but she's still on my team.
Okay.
So we'll bring Alma, and so let's try to work out some specific plans. But maybe in the next week or two we could meet again.
Sure. I'd like to definitely meet before the October 17th meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would love that. Because anything we can set in place is something we can announce too.
Absolutely. And I'm willing to put a stake in the ground and say I have, again, funding, budget, and opportunities and projects to work on.
Amazing. Okay. Because that's that's going to be part of the thing. I'm going to have, in terms of like, I'm going to ask for people's participation. And if I can say, and Kevin stepped up.
You got it.
Foundation has stepped up.
I'm pledging it right now. So if you give us an invite, give us a calendar invite, and I will invite some of the folks who I know can back up the commitment to make some opportunities available for students that, again, Anna Marie or anybody else can recommend to us. Because right now we're recruiting for apprentices right now.
Okay, right on. So let's do. I'm going to send you a calendar invite in the next like week or week and a half, so that we can start some things in motion.
Christine, I have a question for you.
Yes, please.
What is the greatest need of your students right now?
Education and connection. So, in many ways, what they lack is, and those things go together to me, which is that idea of they need to understand the education component is how do they conduct themselves in business atmospheres to get them to the places they know how to take advantage of an interview and things like that, right? So some of the softer educative practices, like how do we create those, how do we build up their game so that they are seen on par with all of my students or all the humans around the country that have had parents demonstrate pathways that have, you know, and or structural pathways that some of our CSU students don't necessarily always have.
I think that one thing that doesn't get emphasized enough, I hear a lot about training and practicing for interviews and getting portfolios and resumes. That's all good, but networking.
Yes, exactly.
Learn how to network, and that every interview is not just an interview for that one job. It may be something that leads that person remember you for other things.
Exactly. And so I always talk about that as how one conversation that the goal of the entertainment industry is to continue the conversation no matter what. So if you have one conversation, one introduction, how do you make that a conversation? Once you have one conversation, how do you make it the second conversation?
Nice.
How do you follow up on it and keep it going and keep
how do you create a relationship with that
going?
Right.
Yeah.
So exactly. So that sort of educative chip as well, the networking and things like that is really important. And so as many times as we can create networking events is really important to me, which is one of the reasons that being in LA with the CSU Entertainment Alliance, we're looking to do a little bit more in person. And that's my partnerships my partnerships manager Alma is like, that's part of her genius, is that sort of what she does. And then the other side of that is opportunity. How do we actually get them internships? How do we get them placed into pathways where they can succeed?
They also need to learn how to share and network with each other. So
yeah,
it's
collaboration. Yeah,
the professionals, but how do you get out of school and maybe you find a job for one of your peers.
Exactly.
Because you're working someplace, and how to get them in the mindset to lift each other up, because that'll continue throughout their life. There was actually, my son was part of this incredible program. Honestly, he got picked out, the Posse Foundation. I don't know if you know, it was a Clinton.
I heard of Posse. Posse is great. It's a great organization.
My kid was the token white kid out of the group, and it was great. It was a great experience for him. His whole world. I mean, he already went to a very diverse school anyway, very large Marshall High School.
Good. And guys, I think Christina's got it.
I have to go because I have to jump
go.
onto a 4 o'clock with the dean that pays my salary.
Yeah.
So
okay, I got to get off too.
So you guys are amazing.
Look for this invite. I'll be looking for it, and then we'll set a little bit of an agenda for things we can bring as resources.
Perfect.
Okay.
Okay. I look forward to next.
Bye, everyone.
All right. Thank you, guys. All right. Bye-bye.